Hello everyone, my name is John Bussard. I'm an HPE Business Transformation Center engineer for Ingram Micro. I help support HPE servers, blade system storage, as well as Aruba networking technology solution. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and demonstrate to you what that means within a management context. Today we're going to be continuing our discussion with HPE StoreEver line of tape libraries. And in particular, we are working with the StoreEver MSL 1/8 autoloader. And we do have an LTO9 tape drive within this, but that shouldn't matter because what we're going to be looking at today is really the management context of these solutions. So we're going to be looking at the RMI interface or the remote management interface, and that's actually on a port on the tape library itself. You can get a DHCP address on it or nail it down if you felt like it. But we're going to also look at command view for tape libraries, which is a free utility that you can utilize and gain a lot more insight to the solution that you've deployed as a part of your backup solution. And it's a good solution if you have one tape library or if you have multiple tape libraries. It actually becomes more valuable as you scale out your solution within your environment. And then at the end of this video, what I'm going to do is show you how I integrated this tape library in with Veeam in our environment. So we'll take a look at how I have my environment set up, and I'll try to relay how you're going to want to set that up within your infrastructure. So with all that being said, let's explore these management contexts. Okay, here I'm logged into the RMI interface. Again, that's a port on the back of the tape library. I'll show you how that port gets configured in a little bit. Now, what you can do in this interface, you can also do on the OCP, and that would be the operator control panel. And that's this little section up front here. Got a little LCD as well as some arrow buttons over here to do the navigation. So you can use either or if you want to. I think this interface is a little bit easier. Certainly you can get identity. You can look at the drive, even the network configuration. You can see that's how I have this configured here. We can get status of the solution. As far as the entire autoloader, again, we can look at the drive. All right. The inventory. All right, we can actually see the tapes installed here. These are the black squares that are right here. You can also see I have the mail slot configured. I can also tell that I have the tape from slot 3 inside the drive. Right. Obviously, we could look at security on this as well, but I don't have any of the encryption key mechanisms set up here. And obviously, we could refresh this information by clicking that button. We can also look at configuration. Now, I'll tell you, I didn't do a lot in this context for configuration. Pretty much everything in here I left as is. I did enable the mail slot configuration. I found that pretty handy. And instead of injecting an entire magazine, and these are the two magazines on this tape library, with the mail slot configuration, I could have a tape put in this magazine, in the front slot of this magazine, and this can eject out just enough to be able to get out the one tape in the environment. So it allows you to be able to pull out single tapes without necessarily doing a rescan of your solution. All right. Here we can see if I had the MSL encryption key installed. Information about the drive. So again, I didn't change anything in this environment. I pretty much left that the way it is. The licensing key, if I had one. Networking, I certainly changed this. I nailed down the IP address. It was set for DHCP, but I put all this information in here that reflects our network environment. We can see that up here. I suppose I should have changed the host name, but I did not. We could also look at network management. I did configure SNMP. I changed the version, and then I also integrated this in with command view for tape libraries. So I'll show you that in a little bit, but basically all I did is I put the IP address on this guy, and once I accepted the tape drive inside command view for tape libraries, the rest of this filled itself on out. We can look at the password for logging into this management interface. Right, but we've got a lot of things we can do. We even got a save and restore button over here, where I could back up this configuration and restore it if I needed to. Right, there are operations we can look at. If I needed to move media around, for example, if I needed to move one of the tapes to the mail slot, I just grab the tape and then select the mail slot and then make that move. We could also rescan the inventory if we felt like it. We could eject the magazines. Right? Want them both or just the left or right one. And then with LTO9, we'd certainly want to initialize the tapes. There's also support. We're dropped off of where we can buy media for this device. We can run some generic diagnostics, upgrade firmware, reboot if we needed to. So as you can see, this is a basic management interface that will come into it occasionally just to do some generic things with this autoloader. Now, like I said, I do have this integrated in with Command View for tape libraries. I think this is a little bit more robust based interface. And right now we are on the home view. We can see our solution. So I just have the single tape drive. This is pretty new, so there isn't a lot in here, but I'll take you through some of these menus. So we could certainly look at the dashboard. All right, you can see we gain an understanding of the types of tapes, types of drives, data transferred in the past year. All right, we could look at it by time. We could see if there's any active diagnostics going on. There are some reports we could generate. Right, diagnostic tests. I think I did a host one recently. Right. Drive slot allocation. Right, newly added tapes. So there's a few different reports that we could certainly run here based on what we required. Any alerts would pop up over here. We could look at the library itself. We can get a lot of information here. So for example, we could get some general information. We look at partitions. So I just have the one partition on this tape. You can see all kinds of information. We could look at moves. So these are tape-based moves. Right, so a lot of great information that we can get from this context. You could probably move on and go to drives. Right, again, this is what we get under actions. Then again, we could look at different pieces of this. So health, right, performance, and over time. Right, so a variety of things, utilization. There's a lot of great reporting you can get on this. So here's a tape I'm actively using here. So we definitely get a lot of great information on it. We can look at the hosts. Again, we can get performance on these hosts as well. We can get the detail over here. It's a lot of great information. Bring it into the settings menu so you can see this. And for example, if you didn't know how to use this policy setting, you could just go over the question mark here, then get help on this page, and it'll open up a page and tell you all about the settings within this context. But certainly licenses, we could add extra users, we could use the local user database or use LDAP if we felt like it. Right. There's certainly our schedules we could set up. Right. Configuration of the server itself and notifications, and it looks like I have to set that up in this environment. Right. Firmware. So it looks like I need new firmware for the tape drive itself. Right. So a whole variety of things that we can get access to while working inside this environment. So I think it's pretty handy. Again, a lot of information about your backup solution. Again, this is great for one drive, but it becomes invaluable as you add more drives into your environment. All right, so let's start talking about the integration of this within Veeam. And I have my Veeam server over here, my interface into Veeam here. Now, what you'll do to integrate this solution, and my autoloader is directly connected to my Veeam server, and it's a fiber channel solution, so that's how it's integrated in with its environment. So with that being said, what I've done is I go down to tape infrastructure here, right, and I would add a tape server. Right, and as long as you have the drivers installed in the system, and what I mean by that, I've got a remote console to my Veeam system. So as long as I have the drivers set up, so we'll go inside Device Manager, and you'll see that I have the robotics as well as the tape drive set up inside this environment. So long as you have drivers on the system, you should be able to see this. Now, Veeam is kind of nice. I'm not going to go through and install another tape server. I'm just going to look at the properties of the ones I already have deployed. Right? And it should be the same menuing that you would get if you were deploying a system. And I like that Veeam does that. So if I expand this out or select tape servers, right click on that and select properties. And this would be the same context that I have to go through if I was actually deploying this. It's not all too hard. I'm going to click next. It's going to detect the previously installed components. And then it's going to have network traffic rules. Now this was set up here by default in my environment. Right? And I can manage these network traffic rules if I want to, and we could actually look at this default one and gain an understanding of it, what it does. All right. But if I wanted to add my own, I could certainly do that. All right, we'll click next. Right. If the software isn't installed, it would install that at this point once we click apply. But that's what I had to go through, get this tape server installed, and like I said, if everything's in order, the next thing you should see is under libraries. You should see your tape drive library listed here. And then beneath that, you should see the drive itself. You can even look at the properties if you wanted to. All right, and then you could see the media. So I've got 4 tapes installed in my drive. You can see one of the tapes is inside drive 1. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about media pools because you're going to want to organize the tapes in media pools in order to be able to make them a part of your backup job. And the way you do that is up here under media pools. Right? So I have this one media pool created, and what I can do is go into free tapes, right click, and then move to, and I can move this tape to that media pool if I wanted to. Right, so again, Veeam is nice because I can look at properties of my media pool, and this would be the same configuration context that I would go through if I was creating a new media pool. Right, so we've got our name. You see the autoloader itself. Media set name. How long we're going to protect data for if we wanted to. Right, if we want to do parallel processing. But that was about it. You can apply and finish. Right, that's all you need to do, and you can start moving tapes to it, or you could set the setting. I'll say grab new tapes as they're needed. Right, but once that's set up, you can utilize this as a part of your backup job. So let's go back. Let's take a look at that. So we're going to go back to the home view. And once that's all set up, you should see tape listed here and down here. And you can perform tape backup jobs. Now these are secondary locations. You can also back up files if you wanted to, but this context I'm going to show you how I'm backing up my many VMware environments. So I have all these backup jobs configured currently in our environment, and I want to back up some of them to a secondary repository, which is my tape solution. So how do I go about doing that? Right, over here is my tape, and there's my backup job. So again, I'm going to right click on this and edit it. And this will give me the same context as if I was creating a new backup job. So let's go through this. So that's the name. Right. These are my backups. So these are my backups that are part of here. So I can add those more if I wanted to. Right. And bring that into that environment. Those are all my backups. Right. But I've just selected these. Click next. I've selected the media pool. That's why we stopped and talked a little bit about the media pool. Got to set that up. Certainly going to do archive incremental backups to tape. I could eject the media if I wanted to. I didn't do that as part of my backup. And then we're going to schedule the backup for the secondary job. So again, taking those backup jobs and offloading them to tape. And this will happen at 1 a.m. And I'm doing that on Sunday. All right, and I finish. And that's how I set that up. So that's one way that you could integrate in with tape. But as you bring in new backups in your environment, perform new backup jobs in your environment, you can add them to that job as well, or add them to this job. And you can do that by doing it in this way. So let's take a look at my backups, and I'll just grab, why don't we grab this one over here, and I right click, and I'm going to select edit. Again, this would be the same thing as if we were configuring a new backup job. So again, we could see the name, see the virtual machines I'm backing up. All right, we can see my primary repository. All right, and you can see I've got configure a secondary destination for this backup job. When that's checked, obviously we get this message about my D2D system. When that's checked, I could select the secondary destination, and the way I added that, just click add over here. Obviously I got a variety of options, but I selected jobs, and there's our tape backup job that's listed there. That's how that ended up in this context. Obviously we can edit this or add guest indexing or application awareness. But this is our regular backup job, and this regular backup job gets performed at 9 p.m. and I do that during the week, right, and I allow my tape backup job to roll off. So this is separate. This is the regular backup job that's offloading to my store once a box, and then this one over here is backing up to tape. Right, you can see I have the backup running right now. You can actually open that up and take a look at it. You can see how it's performing. So I hope you found this video informative, and certainly please stay tuned for more videos.